Hey coffee enthusiasts and business buffs, welcome to our caffeinated exploration on Next Brews. Today, we're spilling the coffee beans on Starbucks, the giant in the coffee universe. How did this humble Seattle coffee house grow into the global Java juggernaut we know today? Grab your favorite brew, sit back, and let's dive into the venti-sized success story of Starbucks in just 80 sips. Words. With nearly 30,000 cafes across the globe, Starbucks has become more than just a household name. Its iconic cups, often adorned with misspelt names, to the espresso inside them, Starbucks has catapulted from one coffee bean shop in Seattle to a sprawling $80 billion business over the last 47 years. But have you wondered how coffee's selling brand became so big? Coffee consumption had been on the decline for more than a decade when Seattle entrepreneurs Jerry Baldwin, Gordon Boker, and Zev Siegel opened the first Starbucks in Seattle's Pike Place market in 1971. By the 1970s, the country's major coffee brands were engaged in a bitter price war that forced them to use cheaper beans in their blends to reduce costs, resulting in a dramatic decline in the quality of America's most popular coffees. Accompanying this decline in quality was a decline in coffee consumption, which had peaked at 3.1 cups per day in 1961. As Americans gradually became disenchanted with the store brands, Java enthusiasts, concentrated primarily on the West Coast, began experimenting with the finer coffees of Europe that offered richer, fuller flavors. At the time, Starbucks coffee was not brewed in store, but rather by consumers themselves after they took the whole beans or grounds home. This emphasis on quality whole bean coffee retail was fairly unique. Only a handful of American cities had stores like Starbucks up to that point. Such a store would satisfy the demand of Seattle's gourmet coffee enthusiasts for high-quality coffee products that could previously only be obtained through catalogs from companies in Europe. Starbucks began as a coffee importing firm. Howard Schultz, an employee in the organization, toured Italy in the early 1980s and watched as crowds of city dwellers began each morning with a stop at a coffee bar. Schultz tried to convince the owners of Starbucks to do something similar in the United States, and was roundly rejected. Quitting the firm and launching out on his own quickly turned into a lucrative decision for Schultz. He raised money from a variety of investors and opened a cafe in Seattle using the name Two Journal. Success came rapidly. Schultz wound up buying the original importing business and renaming his cafes to Starbucks. Within 15 years, Starbucks Coffee Company expanded to over 1,200 retail outlets. The firm achieved this remarkable growth because of several key marketing ideas. The product itself, location, employees, sourcing, and effective marketing communications all worked together to help the firm prosper in a saturated marketplace. The nonchalance of major competitors was also a factor. The product itself, coffee, had been a rather banal commodity for most consumers. Purchase price was traditionally the primary decision variable. Starbucks needed to convince prospective buyers of the difference in its offering. By studying the basics of coffee, flavor, acidity, and body, the company's leadership sought the best beans in the world. Then, other aspects of the product changed, including steaming milk and brewing coffee in a plunger pot. Espresso in an acquired taste for most mist consumers. To reach the market, Starbucks offers it both straight and diluted in creamy drinks such as cafe latte, which is espresso mixed with steamed milk and covered with a topping of milk foam. Once they find a business model that worked, that translated to other geographies, that gave them the opportunity to really accelerate growth, really at the pedal to the metal in terms of expanding across the globe. Schultz switched from CEO to executive chairman in 2000, at which time Starbucks operated 3,500 stores in more than a dozen countries. Between 2000 and 2007, the number of Starbucks cafes more than quadrupled, from 3,500 to over 15,000. During this period, the company opened an average of 1,500 stores every year, including 2,500 in 2007 alone. Sales shot up from $2 billion to $9.4 billion. Consumers were increasingly ditching their kitchen mugs for these iconic paper-to-go cups. Starbucks carefully planned its expansion of specialty coffee stores into new markets throughout North America and eventually worldwide. The first phase of the expansion strategy secured a major foothold in the Pacific Northwest while experimenting in other key markets that were farther away such as Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, and Washington, D.C. Each of these new markets had its own strategic purpose for the company's market expansion program. In 1996, Starbucks International successfully launched Japan's first store in Tokyo's Ginza business district, proving that the coffeehouse concept even had cross-cultural appeal. Success with the original Starbucks in Tokyo led to 25 new stores in Japan by 1998. The Starbucks management team agreed at the beginning of the company's massive expansion program that all stores would be owned and operated by the company instead of pursuing a franchise model like many other successful American food service companies. Although franchising offered advantages for some companies, a source of capital, an inexpensive means of rapid entry into new markets, and a guaranteed commitment by franchisees to the financial success of the business, it posed potentially negative consequences for brand development. In building a strong brand, Schultz recognized that he and his executive team needed complete control over the brand to cultivate an unparalleled image of quality. In too many other companies, franchisees did business their own way, which could potentially sacrifice Starbucks' commitment to excellence in order to turn higher profits. Schultz could not risk compromising the brand's image and kept the brand under the control of the Seattle headquarters to foster healthy growth. The success of the expansion program rested on investment in extensive word-of-mouth publicity campaigns that created brand awareness even before the first Starbucks arrived to a new market. Local consumers were excited about welcoming Starbucks to their towns because of the attraction of having a trendy cafe environment for relaxation and personal enrichment. Grand openings became community events that encouraged local consumers to experience the new cultural dimension that Starbucks brought to their communities. Once a new Starbucks opened, highly skilled baristas and managers would further strengthen the positive brand image by delivering the highest level of service possible. Starbucks also employed a hub market strategy where its coffee houses entered a new market in a clustered group. For each new region, a large city would serve as the hub where teams of professionals trained to support new stores were located. In the large hub market, the goal would be to rapidly open 20 or more stores within the first 2 years. From the established hub, Starbucks stores then spread to new, spoke markets. These spoke markets consisted of smaller cities and suburban locations with demographics similar to the typical customer mix. This deliberate saturation strategy predictably resulted in cannibalization of almost 30% of owned store sales by virtue of the introduction of a nearby store. This drop in revenue was offset, however, by efficiencies in marketing and distribution costs, and an enhanced image of convenience. Today, Starbucks is the leading coffee house chain and one of the top companies in the world. In addition to selling drinks and food, the company has its merchandise and more. Grocery shops across the United States and other countries also sell bottled coffee, cold coffee, and ice cream. In November 2019, it opened the most prominent coffee lovers spot in Chicago with over 200 employees. Due to COVID-19, the company had to close several of its stores, but they eventually announced opening new stores. In 2021, the company made a net income of $4.20 billion. Although the company has a significant challenge of competing with other coffee shops at such high prices, what benefits Starbucks is its aesthetic and peaceful environment, which is suitable for office meetings and even for studies. Starbucks store in India is owned by a joint venture of Tata Starbucks Private Limited. It is branded as Starbucks Coffee, a Tata alliance, and also, Starbucks signed an agreement with Nestlé in 2018, which says Nestlé has the right to market Starbucks packaged coffee and food service products globally. That's a grande wrap on our exploration of the Starbucks phenomenon. From a humble Seattle coffee house to a global Java giant, Starbucks brewed a success story like no other. Their blend of exceptional coffee, inviting ambience, and a sprinkle of innovation has made them a household name worldwide. Starbucks as fascinating as we did, don't forget to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments below, and hey, why not subscribe for more flavorful content? Until next time, keep sipping and dreaming big.